This is Bruce Benedict. Thank you for using the Civilian Resume Assessment Form. I've created this form as a tool in which to help you assess your resume, and for that matter, anyone's resume. And it's an intuitive tool because it uses a target. And so if you think about this tool as building a sight picture, as if you're on the range, right? So think about yourself on the range and you're trying to zero your weapon. Well, in Battlefield Resume methodology, your weapon is your resume. Think about you're on the range and you're firing, you're trying to zero your weapon. They give you 10 rounds or however many. You shoot the target, and then what do? You walk down to the target and you look to see if you have a shot group. So where's your shot group? Now, based on where your shot group is located on the target, basically indicates what you need to tweak on your weapon, your sight picture. When you tweak it and you go back down and you try to shoot again, now you walk again to the target and you do that back and forth in a repetitive manner. But what that does is, every time you look at your target, you see a new shot group. And that shot group should get closer and closer to the center point of the target. And if it doesn't, then you're not tweaking it correctly, right? But when you're zeroing your weapon, you have to do that. You got to zero your weapon before you qualify. It would be ludicrous not to zero your weapon. So in this methodology that I have, the first thing you should do is look at your resume, the current one that you have, and then assess it using this assessment form. And then try to zero your resume, right? In other words, zero your weapon, zero your resume, and for the job you're applying to. And using this method, and I'm going to walk through this with you here, using this method will show you a shot group, and it will tell you what you need to shift or realign in your resume to make sure your shot group is hitting center mass. Okay, so let's get started. All right, first I want to just familiarize you with the top portion of this resume assessment. Now, I use this resume assessment, so some of these lines in here, like the date provided resume or the client, those are things that I use, right? So you're actually receiving the resume assessment that I use. So down at the bottom of this picture, what I want to show you is the overall assessment of the shot group. The objective: all sections of your resume should be tailored to the targeted vacancy announcement. That's the job you're applying to. This is represented by having a tight shot group on the target to the right. All sections should hit the center red dot when assessed, creating a tight shot group. If you have a shot group that's in the center mass, then it's a great resume. It's easy to understand that. The middle ring, really what this section is if you hit the middle ring, it only needs minor assessment. So when I'm asking a question, or when you read the questions below for each section of your resume, if your assessment, and it's a personal assessment, if your assessment of your resume based on that statement or question only needs minor fixing, then what you do is you put your black dot, your shot, write it, annotate it directly on the target, the middle ring. The outer ring, though, is for something that needs a lot of work. Like, for instance, if I ask you a question on this assessment form and you say, well, I don't have that at all in my resume, well, that would go in the outside ring. Okay, so sections on this ring that are assessed as hitting the outer ring are not tailored properly to the vacancy announcement and need major adjustment. And we'll go through some examples to help you out. If you have a dispersed shot group, so it's great when you're at the range and you fire and you're trying to zero your weapon and you walk down and you have a tight shot group, because it's really easy to fix that when you're kind of tweaking your sights, right? But if you have a dispersed shot group, then it's really, really difficult to tweak your weapon, because you really don't know, was it your breathing? Was it your trigger squeeze? What was it? In this one, sections are not tailored properly to need major adjustments. So if you have a dispersed shot group, then that means your resume really is all over the map and you kind of need to regroup and maybe use another format for your resume. And I always recommend the format that I have. You can download it for free. That format is the targeted format, and that's the format that this assessment is based off of, and vice versa. Just because it's a targeted resume, it's a targeted format, and this is a resume assessment for a targeted resume that's targeting a job announcement. So, that's the difference between a tailored resume or a targeted resume. Most of the times no one will define that for you, but for me, the definition is, not only am I targeting a resume to a job announcement, that job announcement is my target. And then everything in my resume is tailored to that one target. Okay, so everything in my resume is tailored to that one job announcement, because that job announcement is my target. So that's how you have to look at this. Not as a biography resume or a resume you're gonna shotgun blast out to 100 different jobs. This is something, if you want a job and you see the job announcement, then that's your target, and then that's center mass on this form here. So on the right hand side, you can see where it says, basically use an ink pen to mark your shot group. Really basically circles, black circles, to mark your shot group. And based on that, you can zero your resume. What we're going to do is we're going to look at this resume assessment, and we're going to just compare it to a job announcement that I just pulled down off the internet. Basically the job title, counterintelligence, cyber, special agent, trainer, mentor. And then we're going to assess it against my resume, and we'll just use it as an example when we go through the first two test shots, basically, to try to zero our resume. So let's look at the first statement there. It says, the name of the targeted vacancy announcement, which is the job announcement, is located at the top of the first page. So first, what is the job announcement title? Okay, so counterintelligence, cyber, special agent, trainer, mentor. All right, so the question is the name of the targeted vacancy announcement located at the top of the first page of the resume? Well, as you can see on my resume, it is pretty much the same. It is counterintelligence, cyber, special agent. Now, it's missing the other things like trainer, mentor, but for the most part, it's pretty accurate. So in this instance, what I would do is I would just circle the yes, I do have it at the top. And then what I would do is I would mark my bullets at this point, right? Because the bullets are what you really got to focus on. So what I would do is I would put one of the bullets in center, but I'd probably align it. It would hit the center mark because I have the majority of the job title in my resume, but it's not the complete job title. And I'm happy with that because at least I hit the center mass. It may not be directly in the middle, but at least it hit the center circle. So that's the first shot. Now the second one is the targeted vacancy announcement. Competencies and keywords are listed within the top half section of the first page. Now what that means is if you're looking at the job announcement, and if you've followed me so far in a lot of my videos and training, you have to assess and do an analysis, basically intelligence preparation of the battlefield, right? Because the job announcement you're applying to, this target, this is the battlefield, because there's a lot of keywords, there's key terrain, there's all kinds of key items on this. So you have to go through here and highlight some of the key terms that are listed in here. So, for instance, manage and assist daily operations of counterintelligence, right? Things like that. When you go in here and look through and identify, let's just say CI investigations, force protection. So we'll take a lot of these and let's just look at the resume right now. Let's see if those keywords, and normally I would highlight them in some color code, but those keywords are competencies that are required for this job. Let's look at the resume. So in the resume, the top half portion is this up here. This is what I'm talking about. So do I have CI investigations up here anywhere? Oh my goodness, I don't. So I have Cyber OSINT, Cyber CI, advanced training. Okay, so I'm missing that. It's not in here. Now I have counter intel, so I have, it's partially correct, but I don't have investigations. And according to the job announcement, what they want to see is CI investigations and force protection, 2x functions and asset validation. Have I done those? Yes. Is it in the top half of my resume like the assessment form says? No. So I need to add it there. So literally, I'm going to go now and place this circle on no. And then I need to put a shot saying that it is on the far corner, because I don't have any of those terms on there. So I need to fix it. Let's do number 3. It says the security clearance is listed at the top of the first page with the last date of use or adjudication date. All right, now on my resume, what you'll find is you'll find top secret. Now remember, my philosophy is everything that's important is on the left and at the top, so of its section. So top secret's on the left, it's easily identified, and it's got the date, 2015. I don't have the date behind the clearance. I have it up behind the polygraph, so I probably need to put it on that. So what would that be? Well, at this point, because the zeroing my resume says the security clearance listed should have the last date of use or adjudication, I actually don't have that on there. So what we want to do is we want to put this on as no, but it's not as extreme as the last one. It's partially correct, but now it's probably in the middle. So as long as I know it needs to be there, you can basically go back and forth as much as you want. But if we do it like this, and then it's in the middle. Now the last one here is an objective summary statement is not used. So let's look back at my resume. Is there an objective summary statement? No. So there's no objective summary statement because nowadays not too many people read the objective summary statement, especially in defense contracting. So I don't have that, which this says I'm not supposed to, right? The objective summary statement is not used. Well, that is correct. I am not using it. So let's put that down here as yes. All right. And so now I can finish my shot group. That is center mass, right? So I'm not using it. Now you see the shot group here of what I need to fix within the first top half section of my resume. And so this would be easy to fix. But let's just go. We know what we need to fix. It gives you a shot group. I really only need to do 2 things with my top half of my resume. Let's add some bullets. Let's add some shots to further zero my resume by going to number 2, which is the accuracy of theme development. Now this is job titles, and in my book, it's one of the last things that you do when you create your resume is basically create a theme for your resume that supports the job announcement you're applying to, the target. Here, it's number 2 because it is extremely important, because this resume assessment form is not structured in a manner that follows the procedures to create a resume. I developed it as a mechanism to show you this is the procedure that a reader normally reads your resume. The reader normally looks at the top half of the first page to make sure you're qualified. Then they'll scan down through your resume to look at the job titles. The job titles need to be themed for the job announcement you're applying to. Literally, if you look at it that way, this isn't the same format as the book because it's not developing a resume. It's assessing it based on how the enemy or the reviewer of a resume, the hiring manager, recruiter, whoever it is, HR, however they're looking at your resume. That's the procedure this follows. So in number 2, you can see the job title theme, meaning all job titles in your resume. The job title theme aligns to the targeted vacancy announcement. So let's look at my resume real quick. I've got a couple jobs on here. So the job announcement title at the top here, Counterintelligence Cyber Special Agent. And then I have senior manager. Okay, it's in Intel services for cyber, so I do have cyber there. That's a good piece for a theme. Then I've got chief of training, which probably needs to be more counterintelligence. It's not really themed properly. I need to put counterintelligence chief of training because, right, the most important element of everything of the theme needs to be to the left and to the top. So I probably need to change this chief of training to counterintelligence chief of training, and the one below it as well. So, and maybe even if I really wanted to do this, I would move senior manager over to the right a little bit and put cyber intelligence services senior manager, because the senior manager piece for the job announcement title is not as important right now as the word cyber, because the word cyber is part of the theme for the job I'm applying to. So I need to move cyber over. I do have the elements, but it's not completely correct in it. It really does need some major changing. So I have the information there, but what I need to do is probably change it over to make it not as drastic, but I need to change it over to create that, right? To create that theme. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark no on there because my theme isn't as good as it should be, but it doesn't really need a lot, right? Because it has some keywords. I just need to add the counter intel, and I need to move the cyber piece over for the first job. So it's probably in the minor area. So let's move this over here. You know, I kind of like to use. I like to separate this target into 4 sections like a pie, and that gives you the overall shot group. So since we're in section 2, I'm gonna use section 2 for over here so we can separate what needs fixed and what doesn't. Okay. Now the next one is the job title. The job titles are listed above the company name and location. So that's pretty critical, because under the job titles of a resume, a lot of people will put the organization ahead or on top of the job title. In this methodology, you don't want to do that. You want to put the job title first. Now, if the job announcement, your target, actually wants to know, or requires that you have worked at a certain location, or with a certain company, now I would probably position that to the top, right? The most important is at the top and to the left. So I would put that up there. But normally, 99% of the time, you really just need to stick with the job title, and then below it is the organization. So in my resume, I do have that. So I will go back to here and I will mark yes, I have that, and I will put the bullet right in the center, because that is center mass. That does not need any correction at all. All right, now number 2, the third bullet under there, the third statement says the job titles. Now these are all your job titles in your resume. The job titles are aligned to the left margin. Well, let's look. All job titles should be aligned to the left margin, and they are. See, you can see all the job titles. So I'm using the same format throughout, and it's really, really easy for somebody to scan my resume knowing that. So I'll put yes over here on the right, and then my bullet I will put in center mass, that's good. So now the last one in section 2 is the work history. The work history dates are aligned to the right margin using the same format. So in my resume, it is. You can see that where I have aligned all my dates to the right. And the reason I do that, especially in defense contracting, is because the reviewer eventually, there's somebody on the enemy side, right? There's somebody on the reviewer's side that will review your resume for numbers of years related to the number of years experience related to the job you're applying to. And you really want to make it easy for them to look at and calculate. That is that right there will definitely help you with your salary as well. So if you're applying to a position that's a level 2 or level 3, it may require 7 years of experience or over 10 years of experience. Someone's going to calculate the relevant years of experience in your resume, and that's an easy way to allow them to do that. If you go back, we go through here and we say, okay, do I have that? Yes, I do have that. I'll mark yes, and then that is center mass. So at this point, I've gone through 2 sections of my resume, and I've highlighted those things that I don't need to change, which are center mass, and those things that I do need to change, which are on the rings, the outer rings. But, obviously I have 2 items that are listed on the inner ring, and that just is minor tweaking. The major tweak is really the one that I have outside the ring, right? So this is just a good indicator of what I need to fix on my resume to make sure it's a tailored resume that's targeted to the job that I'm applying to. And it just reassures me. I use this form for all assessments, and it's the first thing I do whenever somebody gives me a resume is I'll look through the resume, I'll ask them for a job announcement, I compare the job announcement, which is the target, to the resume, which is their weapon, and then I go straight down this list to figure out what are the items, what's the shot group of this resume? How do I zero this resume quickly to target that job announcement? Well, hopefully this helped you, and I look forward to working with you. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I have plenty of guides on my website, help you out. Basically everything on my site and all my documentation that I can provide you is my effort in trying to translate the civilian hiring process into military language so you understand it. Thank you and have a great day.